So, you want to see bears in the wild in Finland? In this episode, we'll be visiting Wild Finland and Martinselkonen to try and do just that. Previously, we had visited Era Eero in the hope of finding wolverine, and you can see our full trip report here. We were now driving 2.5 hours further north, hugging the Russian border, to Wild Finland. Here we are, destination number 2, base camp Clipchamp, is that how we say it? This is Wild Finland, and we're here for wolves this time, although obviously we did quite well with those last night. Let's see how we get on. Wild Finland is run by Lassi Rautanen, a wildlife photographer, and this is their base camp. It was also the most expensive hide that we visited. So here they have a very nice dining room where you can sit, relax, free coffee, free cakes, juice. This is where you have your dinner and your breakfast if you pre-ordered it. We haven't. We're doing our own thing. At 5 o'clock, everybody jumped in their cars and set off for the hides. Well, it's a fair old drive to get to the hide. In fact, Lassie charged you €25 for this, although today we're being escorted by somebody who's been here already. Very close to the border zone, and apparently they've just moved the hides back because of the tensions that we have in the world today. So here we are at the Wild Finland hide. This one's it's a larger one actually, it's got 3 beds in it, and then looks like we've got a lower way that we can take photographs, and then we've got the slightly elevated for sitting down, and this is the view. Not quite as pretty as Era Eero's. Having entered the hide at 5:20, it was nearly 5 hours until the first bears turned up. It was a mating pair, with the female being much lighter. The bait at this location was a pig carcass. Two hours later, along came a mother and 3 older cubs. This family seemed pretty nervous and didn't seem to relax on the carcass, constantly keeping an eye on what was going on elsewhere. "15 minutes later, the very thing they were worried about turned up. A large male appeared from the left. The carcass here was twice the distance from Era Eero, and we were using a 400mm lens with a 2x converter. You're probably going to need a 600mm if you want some really good shots. For the rest of the night, it would be these same bears that would keep us entertained with their comings and goings. At 1:50, a wolf finally turned up, nervous and wary. "20 minutes later, the male black bear appeared, and this is something that this location is renowned for. Somewhere where you'll get to see wolf and bear potentially interacting at the same time. Although on this evening, they just gave each other plenty of space. At 2:30, the bear family turned up for the last time, and even though it was June, it was pretty cold by now. A word of warning, unlike all the other hides we visited, Wild Finland do not provide sleeping bags, so make sure that you order one from them, or you bring your own. After they departed, things got pretty quiet, until just after 6 in the morning, when a second wolf appeared. And shortly after, it too was briefly joined by the same bear, and that concluded the night's entertainment. On our drive back to base camp, we were lucky enough to view a wolf at close quarters, when the second individual crossed the road in front of us. There was just enough time to view the bird feeder before setting course 2.5 hours north to Martinselkonen, and en route we stopped at Kumo for a lovely breakfast.
Bit of a traffic jam. Rudolph has decided to stand in the road.
Indeed, watch out for these guys on the beautifully quiet road. They can just pop up around the next corner. So an easy 3 hours north from Wild Finland, we find ourselves at our next stop, Martinselkonen, and we are here for bears. Martinselkonen, lovely house, if you happen to be staying. can also have your breakfast and your dinner here. And then, like everywhere else, we have the squirrel feeder. This was by far the busiest location, and we all gathered around 4:30 for the drive down to the hide drop-off point. There are a lot of people here, but they have a lot of hides, and not everybody is going to the same location. These guys were wearing mosquito net hats, which on the way out of the forest was a fantastic idea. It was then a 15-minute walk to the main hide, dropping people off en route. At 5:30 we reached the main hide, which sleeps 12. The bait had been laid, the stage was set, and the bears had already arrived. These guys were the warm-up act. For the next 4 hours we were going to have constant bear activity. This was June, and at this time of year, you're going to see a lot of bears, and bears up close, closer than any other hide we'd been to. This is Minnie, one of the superstars. A young bear that was abandoned by her mum and is making her own way in the forest. Your heart goes out to her, because she has to keep her wits about her, and keep out of everybody's way, such as when the young hooligans turned up with their mother. Minnie weighed up the situation, and then decided it was time to beat a retreat. The beauty of this location is that you can see plenty of interaction between the hierarchy of the different bears. The critics will say there are too many, it's unnatural, it's like a circus. But ultimately, the bears are here and relaxed because there is a lot of food, and they only come because they know the food is here. You may not like the pet kibble bait, but there's no denying it's great being this close to such lovely animals. Minnie had returned, but the next thing we knew, she had decided to escape by climbing up a tree. And then one of the hooligans went to investigate, but having got about 50 feet up, he thought better of it. Not long afterwards, something we had been hoping for arrived, when a mother turned up with 2 of this year's cubs. I'm not going to say too much else here, just that they were so cute. Martinselkonen does have a reputation for bear cubs, and probably the place if you want to get up close. However, they're not guaranteed, especially if there are a lot of large males in the vicinity. Hard as it was to watch them go, they would be back, and there were other players to watch. Finland still allows the hunting of bears from the end of August, and a week before the hunting season starts, the food is withdrawn, and within a matter of days, no bears are arriving at this site. During a quiet spell, the guide popped out to put some honey on the trees in order to encourage the bears to stand up, which had the desired effect. By 9:30 in the evening, most of the food was gone, and this meant there was less activity, although the cubs did return around 10:30. By this time, a lot of people had turned in for the night, as they do provide comfortable bunks. However, the return of the large male saw not only the cubs, but the mother take to the trees. After quite a wait, the cubs descended from the very tops of the trees, which must have been at over 100 feet. With the departure of the young family, it was time for us to turn in. Little else happened after we woke up about 5:30, and everybody left the hide at 7:30 in the morning. So thank you to all the animals that made our time in Finland so special. It certainly was a wild time, and we can't recommend Era Eero and Martinselkonen enough.